The fantasy season is done. The NBA playoffs are here, and so are we. Welcome to Fantasy NBA Today podcast, a sports ethos presentation hosted by myself, Aaron Bruski, and FSWA Hall of Famer Steve, Dr. A. Alexander. I am stoked. I feel like I've been away for quite a while. I don't feel like I've been on planet Earth. I was on planet Capitola. For those of you in the Santa Cruz, California area, you know what that's like. Everybody else, you can look it up, but it's very different than the throes of the fantasy basketball universe in the last week of the season. But we got here, and I've been missing my good friend Doc. Doc, how are you?
I'm fine, Brew. How are you?
I am wonderful. My voice is doing better than your voice today.
Well, mine comes and goes. It's hit or miss. I'm like a child, a 14-year-old boy most of the time with my voice. But yeah, it's a little shaky, but it's all right. We're gonna power through it. I can talk. That's a step up from where we were in December. So
yeah, the more we talk, the more the phlegm loosens. Let's loosen some phlegm here and say hello to our sponsors back. Bet Online, the world's most trusted betting platform, your number one source for all sports betting action. Baseball season's in full swing, and we're into the home stretch for NBA. And along with the NHL playoffs, there are even more ways to stay in on the action with the latest odds, news and scores, and live in-game betting while the games are being played. And did I not mention they have the largest selection of odds on everything from the MLB, NHL, and UFC? I think I did, but I said it again. BetOnline remains the number one online source for all your sports wagering info. And in between the games, head over to the BetOnline casino with all the top Vegas-style games, including poker and live casino. BetOnline, the game starts here. We did it. I did it. Got through the read.
BetOnline.
BetOnline, everybody. BetOnline.
Hey, I hit a PGA Tour bet. I've still got Masters fever, and I had little Justin Thomas to win at Hilton Head, and he won in playoff hole yesterday. So it's kind of exciting.
I don't even know what the Masters is, but it sounds important. And people go there and they have fun, and it's electric. But who won the Masters? That I don't even know.
Rory McIlroy, historic win.
Historic.
Gave him his career Grand Slam and got the monkey off his back because he's choked at Augusta like 3 times. And he tried to choke last Sunday, but he didn't. He came back and won that in a playoff. So big win for Rory McIlroy at the Masters.
Well, this show isn't about the Masters. This show, great job, Rory, not choking. This show, we're going to cover the Bruski 150. We're going to look at some of the winners, the losers, how it went, talk about that in a little bit more detail than we normally do. And then we're going to cover some Eastern Conference playoffs. I don't know about you, Doc, but this weekend was great. Like, I got back from Capitola. I got clearance from wife and kid to just dive into the basketball head first. And I just spent, 2 days in front of the screen watching some really good basketball on Saturday. Yesterday, Sunday was a little bit iffy. But the game at the end of the night was great. So I don't know if you have any comments about the games or if you want to just jump in. What are your thoughts?
I want the Clippers to beat Denver, and they're favored. They've been favored in these first 2 games, and I just don't know what's going to happen. I think they play tonight, Brew. Minus, is that tonight or is that
is tonight? Yes, I have a play on that game tonight in the wager pass.
It's Tuesday right now, correct?
Yeah. No, we should let the folks know we're recording this one on Monday. Today is Tuesday, so
the game is on Tuesday.
The game is on Tuesday.
Okay, yay. Okay, that's I was trying to get to that without like breaking the fourth dimension or whatever.
Well, we're going to talk Eastern Conference, and the Pistons Knicks are playing tonight. So this is the way we've set up the recording schedule. A little bit wonky on this here first Monday / Tuesday of the year. But
go Clippers, go Knicks.
I can get with that.
Dude, did you watch the Oklahoma City game?
No. That's like, and as a veteran of the playoff watching circuit, you got to pick and choose your spots.
Yeah.
I was not watching that game. There was no way in hell I was going to spend those 2 hours watching that game.
Well, I fell asleep. I took a nap, and when I woke up, I looked at my phone, and it was 63-28. I was like, "Oh my God, they are that good."
We'll talk about it when we get into betting and stuff, but these teams that make the replacement of the coach weeks before the playoff starts, that can't be great for business.
Yeah, it's almost like it was a setup. Like, but Denver came back and won. I mean, they got it done in game one. So, Brew, you do a little something called the B150, the Bruski 150.
What?
Is that correct?
I feel like am I on the stand right now?
Yes.
This is a hostile attorney questioning me, Judge. But yes,
Guilty.
I'm guilty.
Guilty as charged. Well, we're going to recap the Brew 150 today, and as I understand it, you play in some high stakes leagues. Did you happen to win any of those this year?
Well, thank you for at the very end. You made me feel like I was less likely to be interrogated by police. Yes, I did. I did win some of these high stakes leagues. It was good,
and
it was great.
And do you credit? I mean, did the B150 come through for you in those leagues?
Actually, I drafted alphabetically, and I took the B150 into the drafts and tore it up. And yes, no, absolutely. All jokes aside, this is like that is a competitive circuit, and it keeps getting more and more competitive. We've added probably like 3 or 4 more what I would consider to be like every year ringers that are at the top of the standings every single year. They don't make mistakes very often, and it's competitive up there. So the B150, like, aside from the fact that most of them subscribe and use the B150 against me in those drafts, it's just you got to have that edge in those situations, because the draft is, as everybody knows who's drafted in fantasy basketball, it's so unpredictable, and you can find yourself into a pattern or a rivet. You can be making mistakes pretty quickly if you don't have the background of the research being done. And part of the B150 is the 200, 300, 400 hours of research that we bring together each summer over here to be flexible like that and to just know what we know. So it's important.
It's funny. I believe I was involved with the first ever Bruski 150 list that came out probably, I don't know, man, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, somewhere in there. And you were like, "Hey, man, I've got this list. I've got my top 150 guys. Do you think we can publish it?" And I went and talked to whoever my manager was. And they're like, yeah, let's do the Bruski 150. And it's sort of that's how it all started. And I don't know how you did it back then compared to how you do it now. I assume it's a much more there's a lot more time that goes into it now than there was back then.
Yeah, it was. I kind of remember back in those days, it was like almost kind of like an article idea that, and I knew that it was a draft guide, item more or less, that it needed to be good. Most of your value over the course of the year happens during your draft. You need that to be good. So I put a good amount of effort into it, but maybe like, I don't know, 20 hours into the first one, and now it's like a full-fledged exercise in mathematical analysis of all types, and then film watching, and it takes all the time from the beginning of the end of the season to the August, September, October. It's this living, breathing item that it's kind of changed everything for me, for this organization, and it's been a labor of love. And I'm thrilled to do it every single season. But yeah, no, those old days are quite funny, just with all the things that were going on at the time. I had no idea it would blow up like this.
Well, one of my favorite things about it is the fact that you update it all year long. So it may look a little different in March than it did in October, which is good because things change, people get hurt, people emerge as studs like Davion Mitchell the last month of the season. with somebody who wasn't on my radar. I assume he wasn't on anybody's radar, and then suddenly, bam, here he is. So I think updating that thing and making it a living, breathing organism almost is very important.
That was to kind of recap some of the success of it. So I didn't think, I'll be honest, I didn't think this was going to be like the best year I ever had or something like that. Maybe this was because every team was consistently at the top. It was 11 of 12 teams in the NFBKC where all of these ringers play were in a top 4 position. So the only team that wasn't actually finished in 6th place. And I've never had that. I'll usually have at least like 1 or 2 teams that bomb out for whatever reason, injuries, bad pick, whatever it is. This year, I thought the waiver wire analysis was way better than almost any year I've ever done it. It felt like we got every single big play that we needed to pick up. And I think it had to do with the in-season Bruski 150s that we did for the very first time this season, because every time there was a gap in the action for the in-season tournament, it was like a 1-day gap. And then for the All-Star break, it was like a 5-day gap or whatever it was. That was almost like getting all of the stuff back together and slamming together something that takes place over like 3 or 4 weeks, kind of in earnest before it becomes tweaking and, little tiny updates here and there. Doing that in those little gaps, but being able to just be like, okay, this guy's a top 50 player the rest of the way and nobody knows about it, and having that in your back pocket throughout the season to be able to bring it into waiver wire discussion and just knowing what the values of all these players would be while it's all shook up. And when you get in the middle of the season, it feels like you're in some sort of a crazy war or something. There's like bullets flying over your head, metaphorically, of course, but like it's just so chaotic to be able to stop in the middle of the season and do that. That was really great. So it's an incredible process, and it's the foundation of what we're trying to do here at Sports Ethos, which is help you guys win your leagues and offer you guys value that you can't just get by logging into Twitter, whatever social media platform you're on. That kind of stuff, talk is talk, and there's plenty of good free analysis out there. But in this day and age, if you want to win your league and if you want to have a sustainable value in an industry that's really struggling due to those social media platforms, you got to offer people an edge, and that's what we're trying to do here.
Well, it sounds like you hit on 11 of your 12 teams, right? And how many of those actually like I was in 3 championship games and didn't win any of them. And that's just bad luck. You can't win everything. The goal is getting there, and then you try to win, and sometimes you do and sometimes you don't. How'd your teams do in their final match?
That's probably the part that I'm probably least a fan of, is only 2 firsts, 2 seconds, 5 thirds irritated the crap out of me. And then the 2 fourths and a 6th. I had a couple leagues that I play in cash that same kind of deal, 2nd place. And then I think in the 30 deep, I was in the playoffs. So I felt like I had so much more that we could have accomplished with this group. I'll tell you, I'm not going to argue about 11 of 12 in the top 4. 2 teams almost won the overall, and that's where they combine all of the teams. It's a little bit of a luck kind of a deal, but it's still nice to get up into the top standings. 2nd place, 4th place, and then 5 teams in the top 21 of that overall competition. So it was a lot of cash that came back. That felt good. But it was a lot had to do with like draft position. All of my Shea Gilgeous-Alexander stuff worked out great. So anytime I had the 3rd draft slot was great, but I kept ending up with 7 or 5. And generally I like that. I like being in the middle of the draft, but the fall off from the top 4 guys was so significant. And early on in the season, Tyrese Halliburton was struggling. Anthony Edwards was struggling. And when you're in a roto format, games played matter. Those 2 guys came roaring back, and they actually had great seasons. But it was staring at the standings there for a little bit in the first month. It was like, oh boy, we've been here before, but this is not looking so good. And it was a slow march up the standings. I think a couple of first overall draft picks would have been nice for business there to get the Nikola Jokic shares that I wasn't able to get in on and stuff like that. But as usual, the B150's strength is what's occurring, not just in the tops of drafts, but in the middle and the late parts of drafts. And that was one of the areas that I really thought propelled the teams forward, was just having a ton of those guys, guys that are undrafted, bringing back top 50 value. That's the stuff that I think the Bruski 150 does better than anything else, is take these guys that nobody's really ever heard of, or they're not getting drafted, and getting that type of value out of them.
Yeah. One of my favorite things is when a draft all comes together and everything falls into place. And a lot of it is where the luck of the draw puts you in the draft, because, if you draft 9th or if you draft 4th, it's going to totally impact how your team looks. And there's so many of those drafts where, like, my guys were all going like 1 or 2, like everything was off by just a little bit, and I wasn't able to do what I wanted to do going in. And there's other drafts where the first one hits and then they just fall like dominoes. It's like my guy, my guy, my guy, my guy. And you walk out of those drafts, it's like, yes, I got like everybody I wanted to get, I got. And usually if you feel that good about your team when your draft is over, your team's gonna have a pretty decent year. And I feel like I hit on, I think 4 out of the 5 leagues I was in, I had really good teams. And it sounds like 11 of your 12 were really good teams. And, I did a combination of my guys in the B150. I doubt you were really that dialed into my guys because you have your own guys. But whatever. We had a good year. So what were some of your hits and misses, Bruce?
Yeah, no. Some of the hits, my favorite might have been Austin Reeves. Reeves was kind of going in the 50 to 70 range, sometimes falling even further down beyond that. And to me, it could have been a lot bigger. I think if he didn't play in Los Angeles, then the draft value would have sunk even more. But there was a lot of attention on him. There was just enough good players in Los Angeles to kind of keep him out on the periphery. I don't think people thought that he was going to be able to produce, with LeBron and AD around. And even when Luka came, he got faded. And he ended up finishing as the number 26 guy in 8-cat, number 30 in 9-cat. And that's important to note real quick here, that all of the analysis for the Bruski 150 is done on a cumulative basis. So it's just what their total value was from start to finish for the season. I haven't found a better way to measure this. Head-to-head GMs, they've got playoff formats. They got to figure out where the guys are, playing in their final weeks. And you got silly season that comes in. It's like a guy that's been great all year and then has one bad week during your playoffs. Well, he probably killed you. And it really doesn't factor into a ranking set, that kind of a discussion. You can't do that. You've got to kind of take the whole picture and figure out what these guys are going to be worth over the course of the whole year. And then if you're in a head-to-head setting, you can kind of work off of that and try to figure out, okay, well, how much weight do you want to put on the playoffs and how much weight do you want to put on per game value, for example. But consistency and overall production, rule the day with this stuff. So Reeves finished as a top 25, 30 guy. And I thought there was a decent amount of competition to draft him. There were times when I wouldn't get him in, say, like the 60 or 70 range because somebody else was equally on him. And I would kind of step up my game a little bit and go a little bit earlier just to make sure I could get him in that 55, 60 range. And the march from 55 to 60 to get up to 26 and 30 is actually quite significant. You got to be a really good player to get up into that area. And so I had Reeves everywhere. And that was great. Amen Thompson was another one. He finished with the top 50 finish and was sort of going around 100. That was just a bet on talent and that cloud of players in Houston getting out of the way. Other guys in the middle of the draft, Denny Avdia, was really happy with where he was ranked, catching that nice run at the end of the year that powered a few teams. Keon Ellis was great. There was a little bit of consternation early on, and I had a guy hit me up on Twitter, and he's like, well, you couldn't hold him. I was like, well, I did. And then also they didn't hold him everywhere. There were times when I'd have to drop him, and but then knowing that the value was going to be there, Keon finished with a top 65 finish in 8 cat leagues and a top 50 finish in 9 cat leagues. So for folks that kind of don't know how these values work, you get 8 or 9 categories and they get weighted equally, and their performance in categories such as threes and steals and blocks, they are just as valuable as points, rebounds, assists, and the percentages. How does that work out when a guy like Keon only shoots the ball a handful of times per game, but he's very efficient when he does? Well, he's okayish in those categories. And you add it all up together, you do the math behind it, and he was a top 50 play. He went undrafted in most leagues. And on draft day, I think I had like 12 out of 12 Keons or something like that, or 11 out of 12 Keons. He was great. Trey Murphy was great. So that was kind of my in the middle and toward the ends of drafts. There's more guys that I thought were powering these teams. At the top, it was like Evan Mobley. We got a ton of Evan Mobley. I had him ranked in the top 20. So I was able to get him in the 3rd round quite a bit. Like I mentioned, Halliburton, he came on well. Trae Young, I didn't get him in a lot of spots, but I thought he had a great year. And I thought we actually caught that heater that he had in 8 cat leagues. Anthony Edwards in 8 cat leagues was a top 5 guy, ranked as such. James Harden was the number 3 overall guy in 8 cat leagues. I didn't catch him due to my draft slot, but those who are aggressive on James Harden did really well. And I guess the guys here's the ones that I'll probably remember all season long: Dyson Daniels, Josh Hart, and Ivica Zubac. Those are the 3 that I'll lose sleep over this off season or whatever. Because Dyson Daniels was amazing, probably the fantasy player of the year. Considering where he was drafted and where he produced, the fact that he did something unprecedented, really, with the steals this season, of the deflections. It feels like he's found some sort of a hack to hack steals, like in today's NBA. Like he's researched it, figured it out, and then people will be watching Dyson Daniels trying to figure out what he did to get such big numbers. And then Hart was a top 15 guy, and Zubac was right there with him. And I was not behind so much on those guys, but I was not ahead of the competition on those guys. And that really irked me throughout the season, especially Dyson Daniels. Like the teams that I was competing with almost always had Dyson Daniels on them.
Dude, I played in that rock and roll hoops league, and Brian and Yuri are in there, and Malcolmus and me. And they tell me all the time, like, dude, that's the most competitive league that I'm in. Like, it's just hard. And you mentioned Amen Thompson. He went in the 7th round in that league.
That makes sense.
You mentioned Austin Reeves. He went in the 8th round in that league. And Dyson went in round 10 in that league. And like these people are just savages that I'm playing with. And there's no money involved at all. It's just for love of the game. So it's just kind of funny. I'm just going.
There was a lot of heat on Dyson heading into the season too, and the fact that he turned the corner offensively and was able to do all of the things, and then brought that defensive capability to the table, that was amazing. And that's the stuff I think. When I think about this B150 process, to me, it's as important to identify the losses and to really dig in, like, okay, well, why was that a miss? And why was that a miss? And why was that? And what wasn't seen in the process? Was there a statistical thing that got missed? All that stuff is extraordinarily valuable to me. So I'll be looking at those 3 players and just being upset about that for the next 3 months. But,
it's interesting. Landry Fields got fired yesterday, and he was the Hawks general manager, and he is the guy that scooped Dyson Daniels up and got rid of DeJounte Murray, and Murray blew a tire, missed most of the year, a lot of the year. And Dyson Daniels was awesome. He's up for Defensive Player of the Year. He's up for Most Improved. And I'm surprised the Hawks fired Landry Fields, and this is not his fault. If anything, he finally had things heading in the right direction and had them on a good path.
That's a little bad franchise syndrome there. That's that ownership group has had some troubles over the past few years, but yeah, I'm very excited to dig in. I'm going to take like a month or so off once the playoffs end. I've been really into the capping here, and I'm going to do that as long as my body will hold up. And I'm going to take a big break. I can't wait to get back on the B150 research project, especially as we pivot here at Sports Ethos. We have a lot of changes that you're going to see upcoming in this new season here, some probably even prior to the basketball season. But it's a labor of love, and it really, in order to stand out these days in whatever you want to call this industry these days, it's almost like so nebulous. It's hard to even put a name on things, but you have to offer your customers value that they can't get somewhere else. And so, the review of this process and, just making sure that we offer the most value on draft day, and we offer the best tools on the website and the best overall customer experience, pardon me. That's just really central right now. So I'm excited to get back to the grindstone with that.
Well, and you're going to review everything. You're going to review the B150's performance, right? And so what does that entail? Like, what takes us backstage? Like, what goes into the review?
It's pretty funny. It's like reliving the entire season over and over again. I basically I do the final results. I look at kind of where we were at. I'll look at where the competition was at, and then I do this. It's a pretty painstaking process, but I think it's like, if you're going to sell your stuff as the best, if you're going to be competing at this level, if you want to, do what we're doing here at Sports Ethos, you kind of have to, decide you're in this for the long haul, and you're going to put a full-time effort into it. And so full-time is basically grabbing all these results, running them through some type of an analysis. Was a pick good or bad? You almost can look at it in a vacuum. You kind of kick out the outliers. Like, there was a year Gordon Hayward got injured for the season on the first game. If you picked lower than the other sites, and they picked higher, or whatever the situation was, the result doesn't matter. You just kick that out. Nobody had a good gauge of what was going to happen there. But you look at, was it a good pick? Was it not a good pick? And then I'll give that an actual score. And then I'll rate it in terms of impact as well. Because there's sometimes you might pick a player to be 5 slots better than another site. And, that might be like Dyson Daniels or something, this massive, massive gainer, and was it really that good that you were 5 slots ahead down at the 100 range than another website? Well, you were ahead, but you weren't ahead by a lot. So I have a ranking, or a weighting system, I should say, of all of this analysis. And I'll look back and I'll say, all right, well, how did all the picks do? And that's all presented in a Bruski 150 review article that I do each and every season. That's really important. Transparency in this industry is iffy at best. If you're going to go out there and say that you're, an expert or a resource for folks, and, you just kind of talk about all your wins and you never really talk about your losses, that's fine in some places. But, around here, we want to make sure that, we're accountable for everything that we're doing, that we present everything ethically. It's why we brand under ethos. It's really important in this day and age that, we take that ethical, professional approach to make sure that all of this stuff is on the up and up. So we'll put that article out, and you can see all the picks. You can see, what's rated what. Did I view that as a win or a loss? And I'm always open to feedback on that stuff. I always put it out there for discussion. So if anybody has a question about, well, why did you think this was a pick over this guy, or this competition, or whatever have you, you can go back and you could look at it. We can hash it all out. But it's for me, what it does is it kind of kicks off the entire B150 process, where I take every single player in the league and kind of just do a central analysis of that player, figure out where they're at, and this is more in the like July and August range, figure out where they're at, start to look at the numbers deeply. And that's where the value kicks in, is just doing, the legwork to actually, properly appraise these players, and then bring the basketball piece of it into the equation, and kind of at the end of it all, mix it all into a pot and then present it as the B150 this upcoming season.
Well, usually people who do that kind of in-depth work are just nerds living in their mother's basement.
Oh
But
my
look
God,
at you,
yes.
dude. You've got a family, you've got a house, you've got an
Yeah.
incredible company and sports ethos. Like you're the opposite of a nerd. You're actually one of my heroes, bro.
No, thank you. It's I actually love being a nerd. I remember growing up in like high school, and and hanging with the jocks and hanging with the nerds. I actually enjoyed hanging with the nerds. It's all good either way. But thank you for all that. I'll take your praise, and I will wear it in my heart here. You want to talk some basketball, some real, actual, live basketball that's going
Yeah,
on in the
let's do it.
NBA?
Let's do it.
Okay. All right. Okay. So we're going to look at the Eastern Conference playoffs. But before we do that, if you guys you want to support what we're all about here at Sports Ethos, aside from 5-star ratings and reviews and thumbs up and likes and retweets and all that stuff, which is incessantly obnoxious, if you guys could send us feedback. Like right now, we are straight up in development mode. We want things to be as nice as possible around the website. If you got a feature, or if you got just an aspect of what we do that you want to weigh in on, send it to support@sportsethos.com, or tweet me at Aaron Bruski, AARONBRUSKI. This is for you guys. This is to make sure that your industry experience is a growing and a positive one, and sort of stemming the tide of some of the forces that we're seeing around the industry. We would love that feedback. Thank you so much. Eastern Conference playoffs. So let's go one by one, and stipulating that Detroit and New York will be played tonight. What are you watching for in that series?
Detroit and New York they played last night, correct?
They played last night. Yeah. We're the curtain is up, and we're telling folks that we're recording on Monday. So this game will be played tonight, and so some result will have occurred. But like, what's your overall vibe on this series? What are you watching out for?
Well, I just think that Cade Cunningham and Karl Anthony Towns are walking double doubles, and if you can add those two getting double doubles into a prop parlay, like I think those are just locks to hit. Cade is balling out, and he's a walking double double. So is Cat, and so is Ivica Zubac in the West. Like those three guys, betting on double doubles with those guys, I love doing. I think the Knicks are going to win this series. I just don't think that your Pistons have the playoff. They just don't have the experience. And the Knicks, when they're healthy and when they can run their 6 guys out there for 42 minutes each, they're really hard to beat. Josh Hart, Malik, not Malik Beasley. What am I doing? Brew, help me here. Mikal Bridges. Jeez.
There you go.
Mikal Bridges. Cat.
He's been rebooted.
Jalen Brunson. All those guys, man. They're just so they're
fitting
so
for you to
good.
have Malik Beasley on the mind, though. He's really lighting it up for Detroit this season.
He's in the same series. His name is Malik, not Mikal.
Has most of the same letters in his first name.
I'm very dyslexic when it comes to memorization, Brew.
You're lucky that Andre might be on you in the private chat. I hadn't opened that thing up.
Oh, I haven't either. But Brandon Roy and Rudy Gay, like they have different last names, right? One's Roy and one's Gay, but they're 3 letters with a vowel in the middle and a Y on the end. And I got those dudes confused all the time. Chris Bosch, Chris Boucher. There was no help for me.
That's a great quick little look into the mind of a fantasy blurber. I think like when you see like news feeds going down the page at 5 million miles an hour, and you see letters flying, and you're trying to keep up with that I've had that happen a lot, actually. So you like New York to win?
I like the Knicks. I think the Knicks are going to win like 4-1.
I wonder if I will be disappointed in the future because of an announcement of Coach of the Year before the folks get this podcast. because I don't know. The Coaches Association voted that other guy, Atkinson, and I just think if you're going to vote Atkinson, you might as well vote Mark Dagnall. Like if you're going for the best coach or probably the team with the best players and the team with the best record and all that, just go with Dagnall. I know he won it last year, but come on now. Or he didn't win it. When did Dagnall win? 2 years ago? Did he win?
I don't know.
I don't even know.
Vote him in. I think the T in his name is silent, though. I do think that. I know that.
Well, okay. Now there's multiple things being discussed in the private chat. Dagno, I don't know. But so I'm actually I picked the Knicks in game one. There's a Mike Brown. I hit the Mike Brown bet at 40-1. That's why we got super confident that I could hit the 56-1 or whatever it was on Bickerstaff this season. But
if nothing else, you were close, dude. I mean, like he's in the running.
It's funny every time I like look at that thing, I go, "Oh, I could win $26,000 today." And then I get sad. I go, "Oh well, at least you were second place, Brew." Wah 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 wah.
Dagnall was named NBA Coach of the Year for 23-24.
So it was Dagnall. There we go. It was Mike Brown the year before that. So
it isn't there. You do say the T on the end of his name.
According to Andre, we do. And that's you should to pull it full circle here. You should be voting for Dagnall, not Atkinson. Everybody, get it right. And also vote for JB Bickerstaff, please. But yeah, no, I knew that New York was not going to kind of go away in this series, as far as like who they are and what they were going to bring to the table. And just knowing that New York was going to bring that effort, Detroit, I just don't think that behind Cade Cunningham, there's enough consistent ammo. I think those guys played really well in the first game. And the fact they didn't win is kind of going to probably be deflating for them. And so we'll see, if what I'm talking about now actually pans out. But I think it's going to be tough for them to absorb the pressure of going back to Detroit down 2-0. If they were a team with history and veterans and all of this, I think that they might not care about going down 2-0. But I think this team's going to be very tight in this game here yesterday, as we're listening to it on Tuesday. And overall, I just don't think that they've got the firepower to keep up with New York. Let's get out of this series and let's go to a game that's being played tonight. It's Milwaukee at Indiana. Where are you going with this game? Where are you going with this series?
Dude, I just feel like Milwaukee does not like playing Indiana. Indiana loves playing Milwaukee. Like Indiana just has their number. And they won pretty darn easily in game one. The crowd is fired up. It's in Indy. And without Dame, I don't think Milwaukee has a chance. Now, when is Dame supposed to play?
I thought he was either ruled in or it's very close. I thought the most
for
recent
tonight, right?
By the time you guys are listening to this, I'm sure that will have been announced. I actually already, and I'll put a little wager pass play out here for our fine listeners. I already took Indiana, and looks like at the time of the recording here on Monday morning around 11:22 a.m. that the line hasn't really moved. It's Pacers -4.5. To me, that suggests that the odds makers gave like 1.5 to Milwaukee for Dame being back. Doc Rivers, he's close. He looks good to me.
Yeah, you don't say that. 1.5. Like I still think Indiana's going to whoop them with or without Dame.
I'm happier with Dame on the floor as far as my Indiana play goes because like they're not going to have trouble integrating him. And by the way, I want you guys to go read my write-ups in the wager pass. That's I feel like they're really good right now. I haven't had a chance to really have this outlet, so I've been leaning into them a little bit. I wrote about this there. I think having Dame back is just another mental hurdle for them to figure out. Like, okay, so you weren't here in game one. You weren't here the last couple of weeks. Yeah, we've played with you for a couple of years now. Yeah, we got it all figured out, but you still got to figure it out a little bit on the fly. And Indiana is just going to be relentless. Like It's Brook Lopez, it's Bobby Portis, it's Giannis. And Giannis likes to run, but can he run fast enough to keep up with all those little dudes running around, kicking the ball up as fast as possible, just trying to shoot a 3-point shot as fast as humanly possible? I just don't like that. I don't like that for them. And I think Indiana's also kind of grown up a little bit. Like they got the deep playoff run last year. They had trouble with Tyrese Halliburton early in the season. It seemed like he figured out a little mental thing there. They're just more experienced now. They played with each other for a couple seasons now. Lots of good veteran depth, in certain places on the squad. Shout out TJ McConnell. Kind of feels like Milwaukee's hanging on for dear life.
If you just look at the matchups, point guard, Pacers, shooting guard, Pacers, small forward, Pacers, power forward, Bucks, obviously, it's Giannis, center, Pacers. Like they completely outclass them everywhere except at power forward. And Miles Turner, I'd much rather roll with him than Brook Lopez. Tyrese Halliburton, I mean, you cannot argue with what he's done over the last 2 months. Has been as good as anybody in the league, pretty much. So yeah, I love the Pacers here.
I'm curious to see if Dame is having that thing happen where you're at the end of your career in hoops and you're like, it's like you're not as good as you used to be, so maybe you start talking a little bit more trash and trying to play the mental game. And I expect this game tonight to be a lot of physical play, quite a few whistles to break it up, that kind of thing. And the good news is that game is on because we get Grizzlies Thunder after that, and then we'll have to wait and see if T-Wolves Lakers is a good one or not. So I expect the early matchup to be a good one. Let's clean up the other two series in the Eastern Conference. I feel like these are not that exciting, and I don't know if it's because I just don't like watching Boston play. I said it, like they're so boring. And then Orlando is Orlando, and you got Miami at Cleveland. Let's start at Orlando at Boston. What's the thought process right now watching this series?
I mean, the Celtics Magic to me is one of the most boring series there is. The Celtics are who they are. The game was pretty close through the first half, and then the Celtics kind of pulled away. At the end, they're favored by 12.5. I don't think anybody on Boston can slow down Paolo Banchero, but I don't think they have to. Like I think their mentality is let Paolo do whatever he wants, and let's just shut down the rest of the squad. So the three-headed point guard is kind of a disaster. Derek White had a field day in game one.
Man, he's so good.
Boston is they're just better, and they're not gonna get beaten by the Magic. I'd be surprised if this is not a sweep.
We're going to talk some futures and awards, and I think that will weave in some of the discussion about Boston as a championship contender. So we'll leave it there. If I'm Orlando, I think what I would probably do is tell Paolo and Franz to just get in there on every single offensive play and try to leave a mark on the other defender's forehead, and like really step up the physicality and try to wear down this team over the course of 4, 5, 6, 7 games, because they have that physical advantage at those two positions. Everywhere else, they're really screwed. And so if you have these two players, and especially with Paolo, theoretically can't be covered by this squad, though that's not entirely true, I would just lean into that and try to turn this into, 80 to 80 game kind of a deal. But it won't happen because Boston is that good. Shout out Orlando for trying. Miami at Cleveland also equally is boring. I guess Cleveland's a little bit more fun to watch than Boston. Style of play. I mean, you got guys like Ty Jerome out there doing Ty Jerome stuff. And, I think it's fun watching Donovan Mitchell kind of, he's not playing like the way he's played in the past. I'll say that he's more of a team guy now. He's not trying to take over the game so much. You've got a lot of different guys just showing incredible talent. Darius Garland, Evan Mobley. But what up with this series?
Well, Ty Jerome was a hero, and I was worried about Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland having to go against Davion Mitchell off night. And I really felt coming into the series that the arrival and the rise of Davion Mitchell and the defense that he brings with him was going to give the Heat a fighter's chance in the series. And we're only one game in; it's not over yet. I think this series might go 6 or 7 games if they can slow down Donovan Mitchell. I think that's what it comes down to. But I've gone Davion Mitchell. I never ever saw this coming. But I'm always, you guys ask me about the Heat, and I'm always like, oh, I'd rather watch paint dry than watch the Heat. I don't care about that team. I'm not gonna watch it. I just don't care. To now with Davion Mitchell being there and really helping me in DFS and fantasy, and I'm kind of invested in Davion Mitchell now. And I want him to go in there and kind of mess them up. And just like he messed up the Hawks, right? Like he won that game for the Heat against the Hawks to get them in this matchup. And he was on fire on both ends of the floor. And I want to see him do that again. So I am intrigued to watch, just if nothing else, him play defense against Cavs.
I'm going to keep this to under 20 seconds, but Davion Mitchell under Mike Brown in the Warriors series in the playoffs 2 years ago, he was the only guy on the planet, it felt like, that could cover Steph Curry straight up, and he did it, and he did it extraordinarily well. Later we would get Keon Ellis. Mike Brown actually didn't play Davion Mitchell, and then there was reporting recently out of Sacramento that it was really Mike Brown's call to not play Keon this season. This all now culminates in Miami having Davion Mitchell as essentially just a free pickup, and he is absolutely that good, and he is going to make a mark in this series. Offensively, there's always the some of the downsides there, but he's playing, he's competing, and when you stack him next to Wiggins and Adebayo and Ware, maybe even like Highsmith, like Cleveland's not going to be scoring for free out there. And one of the things we haven't seen with Cleveland is, as it was kind of through about 3 quarters there, this is, they didn't just walk all over Miami. Miami was in this thing, and they hung around quite a bit. And if not for a few mistakes, which you're going to get out of guys like Mitchell and more so out of like Khalil Ware, where he's really outclassed there because he's super young, doesn't know what he's doing. And then at the end of the day, this is Tyler Hero's issue. Tyler Hero's getting just hunted out there. And he's going to have to find a way. If he's going to be a big time player in this league, he's going to have to find a way to put on some bulk because they're just discarding him left and right. But I was feeling the same vibe. I was thinking, Miami might, make all those Kenny Atkinson for Coach of the Year votes look a little silly in retrospect, which doesn't help me one bit. Let's take a look at some.
Look at Davion's line from that game, man. In game 1, he hit 8 out of 12 shots, 2 3-pointers, had 9 assists, scored 18 points, and had a steal, and played defense. Like, you can talk about his shooting, his offense, all you want, but I mean, he's been doing it.
The Kings traded him for Jalen McDaniels, who they would later just get rid of.
Well, and it's not like that looked like a bad trade 2 months ago, because Davion Mitchell hasn't done anything in Miami until all of a sudden they're like, whoa, this guy can play D, and he helps us everywhere. So, I mean, he's really come out of nowhere over the last.
He's just got to get that shot to continue to improve, and then maybe find a couple pet go-to moves that make him a little bit more effective across the board off the dribble. 9 assists. He's been getting a lot of assists, and they've entrusted him to run that offense, and it's been great. He's been getting a lot of assists. He had a couple really bad turnovers, and then Duncan Robinson was terrible in that game. Like, just the kind of back-breaking turnovers. In the scorecard, it's worth like 1 turnover, but it's like 9-point swings. That kind of stuff. You can't have that as a 1 seed against an 8. Let's talk about the championship odds right now. Real quick, if folks want to see the comprehensive version of this, Wager Pass subscribers are getting the betting journal. I've done that every year. Pretty much clean up every single year. 1 year I had a bad year. But otherwise, it's pretty much just reading the board, trying to figure out where you want to put your money, and winning, to simplify it. So I'm in depth with this stuff. But what do you like for your championship odds? Any early leans, dark horses, value bets? What you got?
I don't have a lot here because I was all in on OKC last summer to win it this year. I was all in on them at the beginning of the season. I was all in on them at the All-Star break. And I was especially all in on them when I woke up from a nap and saw that they were beating Memphis 68-23 in game one. I think they're the deepest team in the league. I think they're this but to me, they're clearly the favorites to win it all. And I put some money on them to win it all several months ago, and the odds are coming down. It's not quite as fun as the earlier you did it, the better off you were. But I mean, it's still going to pay if they win, and I think they're going to win. As far as sleepers, Golden State looked really good in game one. I don't know if they can sustain that. They're playing against Houston, who has zero playoff experience. And I think I don't want to use the word fraudulent as far as the number 2 seed goes, but they're not a normal number 2 seed. And a normal number 2 seed is somebody who is a really good team that's been there before and has a lot of experience, and they just don't. And Fred VanVleet hasn't been able to hit the broadside of a barn with a shot for the last 2 months. Like, he's been awful,
Bad.
awful. And like, just get him out of there and let the other guys play, because it's gotten that bad. He did hit one big three in that game.
Yeah, it was 3 for 15 or something, and then he got the big three at the end of the game. They needed it. He got it. But that whole situation is just you can't have Şengün and Amin Thompson, sometimes Steven Adams on the floor together. It's sometimes Jabari Smith, where you're like, basically there's not a lot of threat to pull up and shoot and be a guy like Fred VanVleet, where everybody's just going to chase him off the line, and then what he's going to do is drive into like 5 of his own guys. Like, that's 4, I guess. That's not going to work. The Warriors look great. Some of their the stats since Jimmy Butler was acquired are really off the charts. It's like best defensive rating or something close.
Yeah.
They really are a different team. And being a Warriors fan and watching them for so long, I can just say this: like, it's not fair to add Jimmy Butler to that equation. Like, he gives them such an out when they make everything revolve around Steph, and then for whatever reason that doesn't work because the other team sold out on it. To just kick it to Jimmy and let him go to work is just it's extraordinary. I think with the Houston matchup, they're going to let Şengün eat, and then he makes that the defense that Houston brings to the table is amazing. But when you have a guy like Şengün in the lineup, now all of a sudden they're beatable, even though you got all these good defenders on the court. So I think that Golden State's just going to be like, sure, Şengün, you want to go out there and get 20 and 10, knock yourself out. Everybody else will shoot 30% and we'll win 90-80 or something. We'll see how that all goes. But as far as a pick, you like Golden State, you like OKC. You got any other sleepers there?
The Knicks. I predicted at the beginning of the season it was going to be OKC versus the Knicks. I think the Knicks are going to get out of round one. I like them because the odds are so good. Like, if you bet on the Knicks and they somehow get to the finals and you bet them to get there, they're going to win money because nobody thinks they can get by Boston. I don't know if they can get by Boston or not. They have to be 100% healthy for it to happen because they have no bench. But unlike some of these teams that do have a deep bench, the Knicks starting 5 is really, really, really good. So I just think that they're interesting, fun way to spend $10 or $100 if you want to take a flyer.
I love the Knicks. I wish they had Isaiah Hartenstein on their team, which wasn't going to happen. But that would make me much more confident. I don't think they could beat Cleveland or Boston, but I get your pick. I wanted to put the Knicks somewhere on my board, but I couldn't do it because of Cleveland and Boston, and in particular Boston. This is really interesting because I, like you, I think Oklahoma City might be a historically good ball club And then I looked at the way that the bracket got set up, and I'm like, okay, well, they got to get through the Clippers and Denver, and both of those teams have a puncher's chance against anybody. Are they going to be favored? No, they won't be. But at least that makes the road to get there a little bit harder for OKC once they get out of this series. And so going into my betting, I don't have a huge position on OKC. I would like to expand that position over time, and then really lean into teams like the Clippers and the Warriors, and expand those positions. While the odds are great there, I'll probably take another bite at the apple with the Warriors here. Seeing them come out and play the way that they have just sort of confirms where I think they will go. That other side of the bracket's interesting. It's the Warriors, it's the Lakers, and the Lakers got smacked around in game one. Minnesota comes into the mix. When you look at that kind of a wild card side of the bracket over there, I'm more encouraged, I think, about Golden State than any other team after one weekend of play. What about MVP? Do you got a read on that?
I mean, it's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander for Finals MVP.
Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, for Finals MVP. Yes, thank you.
Regular MVP race, it's Shai and Jokic, and in the Finals MVP race, it's Shai in the top tier, because I think Oklahoma City's going to win it all, and if they do, he's going to be the series MVP. It would be shocking if he were not. It would be like who's the forward for the Warriors that won it when Curry and Durant were on the team?
Iguodala.
Andre Iguodala.
That's my fear.
MVP.
That's my fear with the OKC squad, is that they do something funky. Yeah, it's Jalen Williams. He's
Jason Wallace.
Yeah, like, you know how they do everything as a team, and like they really sell that hard. Like, what if they started selling that? Like, let's say Boston's like, well, Shai, you're not scoring. We're gonna just stick Jaylen Brown and Derek White on you. And
hello, Lou Dort.
Yeah, like something weird happens. I think Jalen Williams could be that guy. He's plus 5,000 right now. Which, of course, I love a good old plus 5,000 bet. Curry at 2,500, Jokic at 2,500, and then Jaylen Brown at 2,500. But let's be clear. My top play is probably boring ass Jason Tatum.
Over SGA?
I hate it because, like, when I get to my who's going to win it thought, like, I think historically OKC might just, it wouldn't shock me if OKC just went in and like made Boston look crazy mortal, like they're like they're has-beens or something. But Boston has this gear that I don't know. It's very boring to watch. I've said that a couple times here today. It's very boring to watch, but like you get Porzingis on the floor and you get, Derek White, he needs the slightest bit of daylight to shoot and he is killing you. And it's just like you're getting hit from every angle. Drew Holiday in finals form. Like, I wonder if players like Jalen Williams and Shai, who don't have that finals experience, and then I wonder about, like, you go further down the roster and start, like, what's Chet going to do in a finals environment against a championship Boston squad? And I kind of think that Boston might be the team to beat here. So then I go boring ass Jason Tatum.
All right. Well, I think I got SGA number one, and then I got a tier two of Tatum, Jokic, and Curry. I think those are the three. If I was going to put any more money, that's where I'd go.
I love it. All right, guys. We're going to get out of here. I want to quickly let you know what the lineup of content is. It's basically Monday. You're going to get Rick. It's Rick Kamla, founding father of fantasy basketball, Rick Kamla. You're going to get me and Doc on that show. Tuesday, it'll be me and Doc. Wednesdays, Rick and Doc. Thursdays, Rick and Doc. And then we're going to have special episodes with special guests throughout the entire summer here. And again, guys, we are building out this platform so you, the fantasy user, can get the most out of it. So definitely send us the feedback that you have. We will try to implement that as soon as possible. Thank you, Doc, for a great show. And thank you, Andre, for putting up with us, as usual. Andre says he likes Grizzlies plus 15.5 on game 2. So there you have it, folks. That's going to do it for this show of Fantasy NBA Today. We are presented by Bet Online. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, be well.